Welcome to the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. All right, let's do this. We're diving into purpose to practice today, P2P.
Okay.
I am always trying to, find better ways to get things done.
Yeah.
And P2P claims to be this way to build initiatives that not only work, but they can adapt and thrive when things get a little messy.
Yeah.
So we're going to be checking out some excerpts from Liberating Structures. It's number 33, Purpose to Practice, or P2P.
Nice.
We'll see. We'll see if it lives up to the hype.
It's an interesting way of approaching things because it really flips the script on how a lot of us are used to going about, bigger projects.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of that top down, like we know best and here's how you're going to do it.
Yeah.
It brings everybody to the table.
Oh, wow.
From the very beginning.
Okay, so everyone.
Everyone.
So, I mean, I love a good brainstorming session, but to get everyone on the same page from the start just seems, well, a little idealistic.
I can see how you'd think that, but that's where the magic of P2P really lies.
Awesome.
It's not this free-for-all, shout your ideas out. It creates a structure for people to feel heard and valued from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think a good metaphor is like building a house.
Yeah.
You're not just going to start laying bricks without a blueprint.
Right. Okay, so I'm starting to see how this could be more methodical than just crazy.
Right.
So what is the blueprint? What are the key elements that make P2P work?
So P2P has 5 core elements,
Okay.
and these are purpose, principles, participants, structure, and practices.
Right.
So let's start with the purpose.
Okay, purpose makes sense. Every initiative needs a driving force behind it.
Yes.
But how is a P2P purpose different from, any other kind of purpose?
It goes beyond, defining just what you're doing. It
Yeah.
really emphasizes the why.
Right.
And not just why it matters to, the people heading the initiative. Mm-hmm.
But to everyone who is going to be a part of it.
Oh, okay.
So in the source material that we're looking at, there is a really great example from the Seattle LS user group.
Okay.
And their purpose is, we exist to invent and enliven a new form of organizing by pondering, practicing, playing, and pouncing together.
Pouncing together.
Pouncing together.
I like that.
Yeah, it's very active. It's playful. It doesn't sound like your typical, mission statement.
Definitely doesn't.
And that's what makes it so effective, is that it's not just about achieving some objective. It's about tapping into the energy and passion that drives people.
Okay.
And when you have that kind of shared energy, then tackling complex challenges becomes much, much easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you're talking about like wanting to find ways to be more effective.
Mm-hmm.
That purpose.
Yeah.
That shared purpose.
It's like the fuel.
It's the fuel.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the rocket fuel for that.
Absolutely. Okay. So a clear and engaging purpose, that sets the stage.
Yeah.
So what's next on this P2P blueprint?
So next you have principles.
Okay.
You can think about these as the guardrails that keep your initiative on track.
Okay, so it's like rules of the road to make sure that everybody's moving in the right direction.
Precisely.
Okay.
And they often come from lessons learned.
Okay.
So the things that you absolutely want to uphold no matter what.
Okay.
So going back to the Seattle LS user group,
Okay.
one of their principles is that users must share ownership and responsibility for the group.
So from day one, everyone knows that this is not just a spectator sport. Everyone's got to be involved.
Exactly.
No passive observers allowed.
No passive observers.
Okay.
And this actually ties into the next element, participants.
Okay.
P2P takes a very wide view of who should be involved in the initiative.
So not just the people in charge,
Yeah.
not just the usual suspects.
Not just the usual suspects.
So who else gets a seat at the table?
So think about everyone who can contribute to the initiative's success, even if they're not directly involved in the day-to-day operations.
Okay.
This could be people from different teams, external partners, even community members who will be affected by the initiative.
Wow. Okay. So we got a clear purpose, some guiding principles,
Yes.
a diverse group of participants.
Yes.
So what about the structure?
Okay, so this...
Like, how does P2P say, how should we organize all of this?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
So P2P encourages moving away from the rigid hierarchies that we
Yeah.
see in a lot of organizations.
Yeah.
And it's all about embracing more distributed models.
Okay.
Because it recognizes that good ideas can come from anywhere.
This is where I'm super curious,
Yeah.
especially as someone who, really wants to be as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
So no more top-down boss makes all the decisions structure. So what does that even look like in practice?
So they don't necessarily go into a specific example in the source material, which I admit is a little frustrating.
Yeah.
But they do say you need to get creative with structure.
Okay.
They even suggest thinking in metaphors.
Where?
So, for example, imagine structuring your initiative like a spider plant.
Okay.
And how would decisions flow?
Spider plant, that's a new one.
Yeah.
But I get it. It's thinking outside of the traditional organizational structures.
Yeah.
And thinking about a way that really fits both the purpose and the participants involved.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe spider plants do hold the key to like eke efficiency.
They might.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got the purpose, the principles, the participants, a flexible structure. What's the final piece of the puzzle here?
Okay, so the final piece is practices.
Okay.
And this is the concrete actions, the things that you actually do to bring your initiative to life.
Okay, so it's not enough to just like have a great plan.
Right.
You actually have to like roll up your sleeves and get things done.
You got to do the things.
So what kind of practices does the Seattle LS user group use?
So they have monthly meetings, they do virtual gatherings, annual events, even community consulting.
So they're walking the talk.
They're walking the talk.
It's not just about like talking about collaboration.
Yeah.
They're actually creating opportunities for people to connect and contribute.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a crucial point, is that the practices that you choose have to align with the purpose and the principles.
Okay.
They have to be the tangible expression of what the initiative is all about.
Okay. So we got our 5 elements, right?
Yeah.
Purpose, principles, participants, structure, and practices. But how do you put those into practice? I mean, do you just like gather everyone in a room and hope for the best?
Not quite. So the source material talks about a specific liberating structure called 1-2-4-all that they use to bring these elements to life.
Liberating structures.
Liberating structures.
Okay, you're gonna have to break that down for me.
So think of it as a carefully designed process for generating ideas and making decisions in a group.
Okay.
It starts with individual reflection,
Okay.
then moves to small group discussions, and then finally a whole group integration of ideas.
Gotcha.
So you're essentially taking this 1-2-4-all and using it as a lens to look at each of those 5 P2P elements.
Okay, so the 1-2-4-all isn't about like generating the purpose or the principles.
Right.
It's more about like refining them, making sure that they're rock solid and everyone is on board.
Exactly. It makes sure that you're not just brainstorming in a big chaotic group.
Right.
There's a structure to the process.
Okay.
And remember, you're trying to be more efficient. This can really help you speed things up and avoid a lot of the debate.
I like that.
That can happen.
Yes, I'm all about efficiency, so that's music to my ears.
Good.
But even with a great structure, I definitely see myself getting stuck.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to like something abstract, like defining the structure element of PDP.
Yeah.
Like, are there any tips from the source on how to avoid scratching your head moments?
So they mention a couple interesting things here.
Okay.
So first off, they emphasize that P2P is iterative.
Okay.
So you don't just come up with those 5 elements and then that's it.
Okay.
You're done.
So it's more like a living document that kind of evolves as the initiative unfolds.
It's living.
You try things out, see what works, make adjustments, like a feedback loop.
Exactly. It's a feedback loop.
Okay.
That's how you build in that adaptability, that resilience.
Okay.
And on that getting stuck point, they actually suggest incorporating visuals into the process.
Oh, visuals? Okay. I'm a visual learner, so I'm all about that. What are we talking about here?
Right.
Like mind maps, diagrams, doodles?
So they actually recommend something called graphic recording, where someone visually documents the key themes, connections, insights that are emerging
Okay.
during those P2P discussions.
So it's like having a real-time visual representations of the group's thinking.
Of what's happening.
Kind of like a live, evolving blueprint.
Exactly.
Okay. That could be incredibly helpful when you're trying to wrap your head around, these abstract concepts.
And it can make the whole process a lot more engaging.
Yeah.
And accessible for different learning styles.
Yeah.
Plus, you end up with this tangible record.
Yeah. That you could reference later.
That you can look back on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of, different learning styles and accessibility, what about virtual teams? So P2P sounds great if you're, collaborating in person. But can it work when everyone's like scattered across different time zones?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And they actually do talk about adapting P2P for virtual environments.
Yep.
One idea that they suggest is using a chat-based version of the 1-2-4-all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So instead of like gathering around a physical table, you're gathering in a virtual space.
Yes.
But those same principles apply, right?
Exactly.
Individual reflection, small group discussion,
yes,
whole group integration.
Right.
Okay.
And they also talk about how having someone act as a synthesizer in the chat can be really helpful.
So kind of like a real-time editor for the group's thinking.
Exactly.
Okay. So P2P can be flexible enough to work in a lot of different contexts.
Different context.
You know me, I always need a concrete example to really get it. So what are some like real world success stories of P2P in action?
So, well, we've been talking about the Seattle LS user group, and they're a great example.
Okay.
So not only is their purpose statement, catchy and fun, but it's been guiding their work for over 3 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So 3 years, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That means this isn't just like a flash in the pan idea.
Right.
This can actually create like lasting change within an organization.
Lasting change.
Okay. What about other examples?
So they also mention the conversation cafe dialogue movement.
Okay.
And they use P2P to foster really meaningful conversations around important social issues.
Okay. So it's not just about like internal initiatives within a company or an organization.
Right.
It can be used to like bring people together around broader like societal concerns.
Right.
Okay, that's really cool.
And another good example is the Quality Commons Consortium.
Yep.
They're using P2P to build research collaborations that focus on improving healthcare quality.
So they're tackling some pretty complex challenges.
Complex challenges.
P2P is not just for, organizing like a team retreat or streamlining a workflow. It can like make a real impact.
Make an impact on the world.
Yeah.
And it's not just for nonprofits and social movements either.
Right.
The source material even highlights a management team that used P2P to completely rethink its business model.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's a big transformation.
Yeah.
So it can be used to drive innovation and change at any level of an organization.
Any level.
Okay. This is making me think about some projects that I'm involved with right now and how P2P could like maybe shake things up in a good way.
Shake things up.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. It's adaptable. Yeah. It's scalable. And it's all about empowering people to create change.
Okay, I'm sold on the potential of P2P.
Good.
But let's be real. Nothing is perfect.
Sure.
Are there any like potential pitfalls or traps that people should be aware of?
Yeah, there are some traps to watch out for.
Okay.
And luckily the source material actually calls them out.
Okay, great.
Which is really helpful for anyone, just diving into P2P for the first time.
Especially for someone like me who's always looking for ways to avoid unnecessary headaches and wasted time.
Right.
Maximum efficiency, minimum frustration.
Efficiency.
That's what I'm all about.
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more in just a minute.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, so give me the rundown. Like, what are these P2P traps?
Okay.
And more importantly, how can I avoid them?
Right. Well, the first one is a biggie.
Okay.
And that is settling for a weak purpose.
Oh, okay.
They really emphasize in the source material that that the purpose needs to be compelling and inspiring and deeply connected to the impact that you're hoping to make. It can't just be some vague idea. You need to like really have that clear and compelling why.
Yeah.
That will energize everyone involved.
Yeah, and that is something that I've struggled with personally in the past. It's like I've started projects with enthusiasm, but without a really strong sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And like they just they fizzle out.
Yeah.
It's like setting off on a road trip without knowing where you're going.
Exactly.
You might enjoy the scenery for a while, but eventually you're like, wait, where am I going?
Right. And they actually offer some good tips in the source.
Okay.
For crafting a purpose that will really resonate.
Okay, what are they?
So they suggest using other liberating structures, like 9 whys.
Okay.
Which is essentially like asking why repeatedly to really get to the root of an issue. Or appreciative interviews, which focus on exploring what's working well.
Okay.
And then building on those strengths.
So it's really about going deeper, like beyond just that surface level, and uncovering like the heart of the initiative.
The heart.
I like to think of it as I like analogies.
Okay.
So if the purpose is the engine that drives the initiative, then these techniques are like the tools that you use to fine-tune that engine to make sure it's running at peak performance.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
And once you have that powerful engine, you don't want to just like floor it right away.
Right.
So they caution against trying to rush through the P2P process.
Okay.
It's best to work in quick cycles, allowing for experimentation and iterative improvement.
Ah, the good old test and learn approach.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's so tempting to just try to create like the perfect plan from the start. But things rarely go like exactly according to plan.
Rarely.
So being open to making adjustments along the way is essential. Yeah. Especially in today's fast-paced world.
It's how you thrive in a world like that.
Yeah, it's like if you're building a Lego masterpiece.
Okay.
You start with an idea, but you're constantly tweaking and adding, removing pieces as you go until you kind of achieve your vision.
You achieve it, and that flexibility is what builds resilience.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And remember how we were talking about the structure element of P2P,
right? And
how that can be like kind of abstract,
kind of a head scratcher.
Yeah. So they actually highlight that as a potential trap too.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're encouraging us to be really creative.
Yes.
With the structure.
Yes.
And not just default to the old school hierarchy.
Right.
Okay. So no more rigid org charts and top down decision making.
Hopefully not.
I love shaking things up, but I need some examples. Like what are some alternative structures that could work with P2P?
So there's a lot of different innovative organizational models out there. Yep. One that comes to mind is holacracy. Okay. And it distributes authority and decision making throughout the whole organization. Okay. So it's kind of like a self-organizing system.
So it's like moving from that rigid pyramid to something more fluid and adaptable.
Yes.
Like a network or an ecosystem.
An ecosystem. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and for you, the listener, this could be the key to unlocking new levels of efficiency within your team, within your organization.
It could.
Yeah.
It's about finding that structure that best supports your purpose and the way that you work. Okay. And they also say to trust your intuition through this process.
Intuition. So I thought P2P was all about like logic and structure.
It is about being intentional and structured, but it also recognizes that sometimes the best solutions come from unexpected places. Sure. So it's about tapping into that collective wisdom and creativity that exists within the group.
So it's about balancing like the analytical minds with the intuitive heart.
Yes.
Left brain, right brain. I like it.
Yeah.
So on that note, how about a little intuition exercise right now?
Okay.
So for you, the listener, I want you to take a moment and just think about those 5 P2P elements: purpose, principles, participants, structure, and practices. How could you apply these elements to a personal goal, a community project, or even like a broader societal challenge that you care about?
Think big.
Yeah, let your imagination run wild here.
It's a great challenge.
Yeah.
And remember, P2P isn't just a set of tools for organizations. It's a framework for thinking about how we create change. Okay. How we bring our ideas to life. Yeah. And how we make a positive impact on the world around us.
Yeah, that's great. And, as we wrap up our deep dive here, I want to emphasize that P2P is all about empowerment.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we all have the capacity to be agents of change.
We do.
Whether it's in our own lives, our communities, or even on a global scale.
Right.
It's believing that when we come together with a shared purpose and a willingness to collaborate, we can create truly remarkable things.
Beautifully said. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. There are so many resources out there to help you on your P2P journey.
Right.
The source material that we've been talking about is a great starting point. Check out the Liberating Structures website.
Okay.
They have tons more information on P2P and other, powerful methods for just unleashing collective genius.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Purpose to Practice. Hopefully you've gained some valuable insights and some inspiration to start putting these principles into action. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep creating the change you want to see in the world.
Keep creating.
All right, so spill it. What are these P2P traps? And how do I avoid them? I'm all about, maximum efficiency, minimum frustration.
Okay, so the first trap is a big one, and that's settling for a weak purpose.
Okay, yeah.
The source material really emphasizes that the purpose has to be compelling, inspiring, deeply connected to the impact you want to create.
Yeah.
It can't just be like a vague idea of what you're doing. You really need a clear and compelling why that's going to energize everyone.
That's where I tripped up in the past. It's like I've jumped into projects with a lot of enthusiasm, but without that really strong sense of purpose. And those projects, they fizzle out.
I can fizzle out.
It's like setting off on a road trip without a destination.
Right. Yeah.
You might enjoy the scenery for a while, but eventually you're like, wait, where am I even going?
Exactly. And the source offers some tips for crafting a purpose that resonates.
Okay.
One is to use other liberating structures like 9 whys.
Okay.
Which is, essentially asking why repeatedly to get to the root of an issue.
Okay.
And then appreciative interviews, which focus on exploring what's working well.
Okay.
And then building on those strengths.
So it's really about, going deeper than just at surface level and uncovering like the heart of the initiative.
The heart of it.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of analogies.
Okay.
So if the purpose is the engine that drives the initiative, then these techniques are like the tools you use to fine-tune that engine and make sure it's running at peak performance.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then once you have that powerful engine, you don't want to floor it right away.
Right.
They caution against rushing the P2P process.
Right.
It's best to work in those quick cycles that allow for, that experimentation and that iterative improvement.
The good old test and learn.
Test and learn.
Yeah. It's so tempting to just try to create the perfect plan. Right from the get-go.
Right.
But things rarely go exactly according to plan.
Really?
So being open to making those adjustments along the way is key, especially in today's world.
Especially today. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like if you're building a Lego masterpiece.
Okay.
You start with an idea, but you're constantly tweaking and adding and removing pieces as you go until you kind of like
achieve your vision.
Your vision. Yeah. And that flexibility is what builds that resilience.
Yeah.
Remember how we were talking about the structure element of P2P?
Yes.
And how it can be kind of abstract.
The head scratcher.
Yeah, it's tough to picture. So they highlight that as a potential trap too.
Right, because it's tempting to just default to what you know.
Okay.
To that traditional hierarchy.
Okay.
But they really encourage us to be creative with structure.
Okay, so no more rigid org charts and top-down decision making.
Hopefully not.
I'm all for shaking things up.
Good.
But I need some examples. Like, what are some alternative structures that could work with P2P?
So there are a lot of innovative organizational models out there.
Yeah.
One that comes to mind is holacracy.
Okay.
And it distributes authority and decision-making throughout the organization. So it's kind of like a self-organizing system.
So it's like moving from that rigid pyramid to something more more fluid and adaptable, like a network.
The network.
Or an ecosystem.
An ecosystem.
Yeah, and for you, the listener.
Yeah.
This could be the key to unlocking those new levels of efficiency within your team or within your organization?
It's about finding the structure that best supports the purpose and the way people work best.
Okay.
And on top of that, they also say, trust your intuition throughout this process.
So I thought P2P was all about logic and structure.
It is about being intentional and structured, but it also recognizes that sometimes the best solutions come from unexpected places, you know? So it's about tapping into that collective wisdom and creativity that exists within a group.
So balancing like the analytical mind with the intuitive heart.
With the heart.
A little left brain, right brain action.
Yeah.
I like it. So on that note, how about a little intuition exercise right now?
Okay.
For you, the listener, I want you to take a moment and think about those 5 P2P elements. Purpose, principles, participants, structure, and practices. How could you apply those to a personal goal?
Okay.
A community project, or even a broader societal challenge that you care about. Think big here. Let your imagination run wild.
That's a great challenge. And remember, P2P isn't just a set of tools for organizations. It's a framework for thinking about how we create change, how we bring our ideas to life, and how we make a positive impact on the world around us.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to emphasize that P2P is all about empowerment.
It is.
You know, it's about recognizing that we all have the capacity to be agents of change, whether it's in our own lives, in our communities, or even on a global scale. It's about believing that when we come together with a shared purpose and a willingness to collaborate, we can create truly remarkable things.
Beautifully said. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. There are tons of resources out there, you know, to support you on that journey. The source material that we've been talking about today is a great place to start. Check out the Liberating Structures website. Tons more information on P2P and other powerful methods for unleashing collective genius.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into purpose to practice. Hopefully you've gained some valuable insights and some inspiration to start putting these principles into action. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep creating the change you want to see in the world.
Keep creating.
See you next time on the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. Until next time.
See you then.